Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 176. This is your host, Critical Failure. Thanks for listening. Remember, you can check us out on thenextround.net. Get yourself a copy of the MP3 down there in the description, as well as visiting some of the links for stories for this week. Coming up this week, we have 11 awesome open source Linux games that you should not miss, which was a story published on multiple different Linux websites. Very simple little top 11, such a weird number to go with. List of some games you can go out and get for free, which I believe are all also on Windows, because you know how these Linux programs usually have multiple setups for different distributions, and then there's always a Windows version as well. Very, very few Linux games are not also available for Windows. There is a Steam redesign is just around the corner as well, and the screenshots I've seen are very few, but they are. We're talking about a massive redesign. Steam is going to look completely different soon. Also, Mega Man 2.5D. Going to discuss that a little bit. In other news, Jim Sterling versus Digital Homicide is something that happened a little while ago. As long as this... And this is the only time I'm going to weigh in on this. The whole PewDiePie versus the Wall Street Journal thing. Again, the internet is kind of making its rounds, and everybody is doing their 2 cents. And by now, that story is a couple weeks old. So I'm going to weigh in just briefly on that and a bunch of other stuff. I'm actually really excited. I got a lot to go over this week. So let's kick things off with a chiptune. This is from chipmusic.org and played under the Creative Commons license. So head over to chipmusic.org and pick up a copy of this MP3. Let the artist know you heard it on Tiger Claw Radio. And it's from Business Pastell, who made a song called Wishful Thinking. And the description, he says, for this song I collaborated with the artist Skybox. So this is a collaboration tune made with LSDJ at 135 beats per minute. They also have it up on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. So check it out. Get yourself a copy. Very danceable tune. A really upbeat track to hear in the morning. Not too upbeat, but good vibes early on in the day. All right, guys, hang in there. I'll see you on the other side. That was wishful thinking from Business Pastell collaborating with Skybox. Head over to chipmusic.org and get yourself a copy of the MP3. Alright. Let me get my head back where it needs to be. Head over to the notes. I think I might have put down more notes this time than I can support in the short amount of time I have to record, which is honestly, it's a good place to be because it means I have a good number of things to talk about. Some sad news in TigerClawTV history. The forums got deleted after nearly 10 years of service. I opened up the forums pretty early on in the history of TigerClaw Radio, and it was a place I would go when I would ask for when I would ask to collaborate with the listeners. That was where it was done early on. Because initially, when I started TCR, the website that was supporting it was created, was a static website that I created from scratch in Dreamweaver on Adobe CS3. And then after that, I went to a hard-coded solution, a hard-coded HTML solution that I was making myself. And those two, the ways I was making those websites, did not lend itself very well to updating. So I didn't have a comment box on the website in those days. So in order to open the website up to collaborate with visitors, that's what the forum was for. And through the lifespan of that forum, we had Doom Night going. That was born and died on that forum. There was a lot of stuff from Carl from Scenic 7 PR when he was really excited about collaborating with Electronic Games Monthly for scanning EGM and stuff. And he was really excited about it, and he was going on and on about he was calling it the Phoenix because he couldn't talk about the deal at that time. I met Darabka on that forum. That's where he came out of the woodwork and started talking about playing Dungeons and Dragons with us. It was sad to see it go. There was also a hidden forum on those forums called the Fine Gentleman's War Club, which was a very underutilized forum designed for me, Hemrock, and Darabka to organize a Civilization 2 play-by-email game. And that was from several years ago. So, special thanks to everyone who participated in the forums over the years. Right now, I don't have any plans to replace them because, again, they had not been used in a long time. But we'll see. If the demand is great enough, I'll find something in their place. I really feel like something should go up on the next round, though. The next round needs a place for us to gather and just shoot the breeze a little bit. We've got various comment sections for posts over there, but I feel like we need a forum or at least a chat box or something. But I haven't mentioned this to Darabka or Alex, I don't think, yet over there, so we'll see. Hopefully they get on board. Alright, so that's that. Let's talk about the Jim Sterling thing. Okay, so you might be aware already by now. There's a company called Digital Homicide who was creating games for Steam that many people felt were asset flips. They were buying pre-designed assets, cobbling together loosely made, very cheaply made games with them and selling them very quickly. Like, a lot of them were coming out very quickly. And so people were commenting negatively on the Steam storefront, so they responded by suing over 100 Steam users anonymously. In addition to suing the Steam users, they went after Jim Sterling. And when I say they went after him, they sued him for $10 million. And that amount of $10 million was increased to $15 million over the course of the lawsuit. It took the way Jim tells the tale, a couple of years to get through the case. And they eventually reached a decision to settle it amicably. And I don't have the legal jargon in front of me, but each paid their own court costs and just decided to kind of put the thing to bed. There is a copyright attorney on YouTube by the name Leonard French. Now, Leonard opened his channel right around the time we had that whole debacle with the Fine brothers. And he made a video that made the rounds very quickly. It's like, look, I'm actually a copyright attorney. Here's what I think of what they're trying to do. And he, since then, has weighed in on a lot of the legal issues that have plagued YouTube since then. He talks about the H3H3 trial. He talks about this thing and several others, as well as some notable cases worth discussion. Great YouTube channel. Well, anyway, Mr. French weighed in on the Jim Sterling thing, and the way he describes it, Jim was very, had the chance to really nail these guys to the wall and didn't. And the way Jim tells the tale, he says, well, there's no point in going after the court costs because these guys don't have it, so might as well just put it to rest. All right, and here's the reason why I'm bothering to dredge this whole Jim Sterling thing up after I feel the whole story has kind of come and gone. It's disappointing that he did not go after these digital homicide copyright troll guys. Right now, how do I explain this? The way that the copyright system is broken, if somebody sues you and you don't have resources, then that's it. I mean, if you were to get sued for some outlandish reason, right? Much like was the case with Jim Sterling, if you were to get sued for something that's like clearly not viable, I mean, even if you, it doesn't matter if you're right, it doesn't matter if you're wrong. You're talking about $50,000 and a year of work going right down the drain. And anyone can do it at any time for any reason. And there is no detraction in the law, and there's no deterrent in the law to stop people from doing it. It's a really dangerous time to be making content. And what Digital Homicide was doing in this case was really, really hurting free speech in a big way, and really hurting the concept of the free press in a big way. This whole concept of new media that we have here, where anybody like me can get out a microphone and start a podcast, they really hurt that concept, because I really worry now. Anybody I talk about, if they get a bee in their bonnet big enough and they're crazy enough, they can take me to court and they can ruin my family. They can put us all in ruin very, very quickly. So, as far as Jim Sterling is concerned, yeah, he's right that they probably didn't have the court costs to be recovered. But I'm disappointed that Jim did not seek out compensation, and I'm disappointed that Jim did not make digital homicide suffer consequences. I feel like that needed to happen as a deterrent to protect the rest of us for making content and not getting sued. I'm really disappointed that he didn't do that, because these guys just sort of went nuts on everybody, including random Steam users, and basically got away with it. I mean, they didn't get any money, and they did ruin their reputations, but there were no financial consequences. So it's a scary time, boys and girls, if you want to make content on the internet. You got to be really careful. I don't like talking about people negatively at all, which makes me a very poor reviewer, I suppose. But yeah, that's that. Then we move on to another tired subject, the PewDiePie versus Wall Street Journal thing. What? Oh, man. All right. I'm going to spend less time talking about this than the Jim Sterling thing. But essentially, the Wall Street Journal decided to vastly increase PewDiePie's popularity by making a bunch of clearly transparent hit piece accusations, like water see-through, absolutely crystal clear hit pieces on PewDiePie, and in doing so, they have increased his viewership quite a bit. Cruising forums, reading people's thoughts on this situation, there are a good amount of people who have said, I don't like PewDiePie, but I'm watching him now to support him against the traditional media's lashing out on new media. And as far as PewDiePie versus Wall Street Journal, I feel like there's not really a whole lot of reason to comment on that, except that there has never been more of a reason to stop trusting the mainstream media. Oh man, that's number one. Number two, the whole concept of making internet content, we have them scared. That's the way I look at this. There was a story a couple of years ago where Howard Stern was talking about podcasting. And Howard Stern was getting really upset. He was basically saying, if you're a podcaster, you are making believe that you are a radio personality. You're pretending to be a broadcaster. And he basically said podcasting is not a legitimate form of entertainment, format of media at all. And he said, if you want to get into this business, you have to be, the words he used were terrestrial radio. You have to get into terrestrial radio, and you have to build an audience. You can't get an audience like this. Now, those of us who consume podcasts know that that's ridiculous, especially since Howard Stern is not on terrestrial radio anymore. He's on Sirius. But this was the way he felt, and he's an old radio guy. So you listen to that, and what you hear is a mainstream media personality not understanding or not accepting new media. And it's ridiculous, because this is clearly the way media is going, right? I mean, if you know what podcasts are, and you listen to them, how much do you go back and listen to terrestrial radio? All of you who are listening to this, do you ever turn on that FM radio? I do once in a while, and the first thing that comes into my head is, man, I wish I had a podcast already. So we really got them on the run, guys. If we can get these people like Digital Homicide kept in check, with some serious consequences for doing those kinds of shenanigans, then I say we're doing okay. And that whole portion, the Jim Sterling and PewDiePie stories, I think those went on a little bit longer than I had intended. But that's okay. That leaves Steam's Redesign and 11 awesome open source Linux games you should not miss. Let's do the Linux games list, and then we'll discuss the Redesign. Okay, you guys know I'm a big Linux fanatic. I enjoy it. It's kind of like an overnight sensation for me. One of those things where I just saw the tip of the iceberg, and suddenly this whole world of computing was revealed. It's kind of like when you first open the door to a new fandom, and you're like, oh, and you see all of the things involved with the fandom, and you just get into it. That's me with Linux. I mean, as you all clearly know. So I check out the Linux news sites to see what's going on, and I came across this story which appeared on a couple of websites, and I will put the link to this in the description in the show notes so you can follow it. And it's a simple list, and all the games on here should be free. So here we go. Without reading the descriptions too much, because I want to shotgun through this pretty quickly, we have. Okay, so this is a problem. They went from 1 to 11, because I feel like they did it backwards. a decent countdown. I mean, come on. If you're going to go clickbait, you really got to count down to number 1. So we're going to start at the bottom at 11. Weighing in at number 11, we have Astra Menace, which I have never heard of before, but it kind of looks like a high-res asteroids. And they write, it's a plot we've all heard before, aliens invading, it's up to you to annihilate them all. Astra Menace is an arcade-style shooter. Okay, cool. So Astra Menace is a thing. That's one word. The next game, this one I actually want to play. This is called Pingus. Number 10 is Pingus. And what we have here is a reimagining of Lemmings. Lemmings has been remade with some bare bones minimal graphics, and all the Lemmings have been replaced with penguins. I mean, you might be aware that the penguins are a big theme of the Linux world. So Pingus is out there that you can go get a copy of that. Number 9 is The Secret Mario Chronicles, and Mario is spelled M-A-R-Y-O. Clearly a Mario ripoff, and I will leave that as it is. I feel like I've kind of moved on from that kind of game. But that's number 9 on the list. Now here's where where it gets interesting. Number 8 is a game called OpenTTD, and what they have here is a remake of Transport Tycoon Deluxe, which is what TTD stands for. So it's an open source version of Transport Tycoon, and this game looks great. I've come across this before. There's a gentleman in I can't remember which Steam group. I believe it's the International Strategy Games group, looking for people to play this in multiplayer. Basically, it's like a SimCity-like game. But I mean, if you've never played one of these Transport Tycoon games, imagine SimCity, but you're focusing on like the roads and the train system rather than the construction of the city itself. It's high thought intensive business strategy, and it's pretty cool, man. I also happen to be aware that this particular game, OpenTTD, is available on Android for free. So if you want a good game on your phone, go get that. All right, let's get through the rest of this list quick. Number 7 is the Battle for West Noth, which looks a lot like Fantasy General, or a fantasy-based Panzer General type clone, hexagonal-based grid, turn-based game, and I really enjoy games like that, so I think I'm going to check this out. There are many unofficial campaigns in the form of user-made add-ons. Great, that's my kind of game. Battle for West Noth. I'm going to play that, guys, and we'll get on this and reconvene next week. Number 6 is Zoonotic, Xonotic. The only FPS on the list, and it looks like open source Halo. So I'm not sure how much of a need we have for a game like that. I love FPSs, but especially if you're going to talk about free games, we've got that free version of Quake 3, Quake, what was it called? Quake Arena? I can't think of what the name for it is. But that's available, and that's, you're probably not going to do any better than that when it comes to free arena shooting. But then again, this is a Linux game, so maybe I'm wrong. 5, we have Voxel Lands, which is a Minecraft clone. Here we go. Number 4, Hedge Wars. I was not aware of this one either, but this is one I'm going to download. Hedge Wars is a clear freeware knockoff of Worms, and it looks an awful lot like Worms Armageddon, like very closely. It says right here in the article, Hedge Wars is heavily influenced by the long-running Worms series. And I gotta say, the Worms series today is not doing so hot. They really have tried to capitalize on the series by monetizing certain aspects of the game that should be free, in my opinion. So I'm interested to see what the open source or free software community does with the concept. Hedge Wars, that's number 4 on the list. Number 3 is the Dark Mod, which I don't know what this is. Crowned number 2 best free PC game by PC Gamer in 2016. You control an agile thief who must use a variety of tools and equipment to avoid various threats. Software is bundled with a level editor, which allows you to create your own missions. There's over 100 fan-made missions for the various objectives. Kind of looks like Thief. It's a remake of the game Thief in the Doom 3 engine. Okay, that looks pretty dope, actually. I was playing the original Thief last night. The first-person Thief game on Steam. Just last night. The Thief games are games that people just herald as this brilliant software and must-play games in a gaming career. Like, absolute must-play. But I never really got to experience that. So I went back and played the first one, and I don't know. It doesn't strike a chord with me. So I'll have to play some of the other games in the series and see if maybe there's something else awesome that I'm missing out on. But the Dark mod apparently appears to be Thief remade in the Doom engine with tons of user-created content. So check out the article. You can see a screenshot if it sounds interesting. Excuse me. Number 2, Super Tux Kart, which appears to be a Mario Kart-like game featuring the screenshot. They have a penguin racing a kart. The way their description reads as follows: it may have started as a Mario Kart clone, but Super Tux Kart has come into its own over the years. This kart racer has a slew of game modes and offers lots of racing replayability, in addition to colorful graphics and well-designed tracks to race on. One of the best things about Super Tux Kart is a collection of characters. Mascots from various open-source projects appear in the game. Keep your eyes peeled for the GNU Wildbeast, the Seuss Gecko, and the Mozilla Thunderbird. Okay, that looks pretty cool. The graphics look pretty good from the screenshot. And it rings a bell. I remember this being talked about in other places. So yeah, I'll check that out. I wonder if it has any kind of multiplayer. That would be cool. Even like local multiplayer would be fun. Kart racing games, I think, are always cool. Everybody puts their own spin on the kart racing game. I really wanted that one that they released for the Ouya, the Indie Kart Racer, but they wanted so much money for it. It was like $15 or something. And now I can't even find the AC adapter for my Ouya, so I can't turn it on. So I'll get Super Tux Kart instead. And the number 1 free Linux game is called Zero AD, which my dear friend Hemrock pointed out this game a good while ago and suggested that I go get it. And it looks... Let's see. Let's read the blurb. Despite still being in the alpha stage, Zero AD is one of the most impressive open source games out there. Players take control of one of 12 ancient civilizations that are tasked with its survival and proliferation. So in order to do this, you must engage in combat with other civilizations while managing your economy. Featuring a single-player campaign as well as multiplayer, Zero AD is perfect for those of you who are going through Age of Empires 2 withdrawals. Okay, that's the blurb. I would say this reads more like a cross between Empire Earth and Civilization. Although I'm not super familiar with Age of Empires 2, so I can't comment on that. Awesome looking game. I downloaded it and got it running, but I never really took the time to get in it. So that's the list of 11 awesome open source games. One game I'm surprised is not listed here is Free Civ, the free version of Civilization, which is a pretty cool open source game, and the only thing that stops me from playing it is the fact that I have commercial editions of Civilization that I'm just fine with. But that's a pretty awesome game. Don't know if that's available on Linux. I have a feeling that it is, but that is a great game that's not on this list. So check out the description to take a look at some of these games. Alright, I'm running out of time to record for the morning, and there are a couple of notes I wanted to go over that I'm not going to have time for. Mega Man 2.5D in particular, I'll have to talk about that next week. That was a game that I was talking about. Okay, that game's like almost a decade in the making, and right around the time TCR launched, there was a concept video out about Mega Man 2.5D, and it was like a pie-in-the-sky game that looked really cool, but we were just looking at an animation, so there was no real way it was going to get done. And it's out, and it's free, and it's awesome, and please go get yourself Google Mega Man 2.5D, just get a copy of the game, download it before it gets taken down by Nintendo's copyright team. Please go get it. Don't miss it, because you know it's not going to be around forever. Also, we have Steam's Redesign. Oh my goodness. I don't have any rhyme or reason to why it's being redesigned, but they're in the open source community. There was an article about Steam that showed a screenshot of their conceptual redesign, and honestly, I hate it, but then again, I hate all redesigns. If you're a Steam user, all I can say now is expect the layout to change. I'm going to leave this link in the description, even though I didn't have a chance to talk about it. But yeah, it's crazy. It hurts my bones that this is happening, but yeah, check it out. Yeah, I think we did everything. TCR's on Patreon. Consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the show. The patrons on Patreon get the show a day early, which is something I wasn't planning to do because I didn't want to stick it to the regular listeners. But it takes an extra day to translate the show into a video format. So I usually set that translating and then run off to work, causing it to take an extra day. So Patreon has a pretty simple audio upload form. So I dropped last week's show on while I was waiting for the video file to process. So if you're a patron, you can pick the show up a day early. All right. Let's see if I can dig out a chiptune for us to listen to, and then we'll head over to the Vancast. All right, we have another one from Klamm, Klamm, who Klamm did Moonset, which we played last week. This is called PRISMA, and this is really good. This is like opening sequence for an 80s movie good. I'm digging this one. All right, so let's listen to this track, and when we come back, we will shoot right over to the Vancast. So it's going to be a nice long episode this week. I got a Vancast that runs about 15 minutes, so we'll come back and do that, and then I'll let the show breathe for a couple days, and then we'll do the fail bag. All right, you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Oh boy, it is Monday morning. This is the first day of work after daylight savings time. So it is 5:29 and it sure as heck feels like 4:30. All right, hang on a second. Driving stuff. No, it's not 5:29. I haven't set that clock yet. It's 6:30, feels like 5:30. Oh boy. Daylight savings time is taking its toll already. Can we get this in order? Not crap. Good. Okay, so had a good weekend, gotta say. You may remember last week on the air during the failbag, Darabka mentioned Street Fighter Alpha 2. In the middle of the failbag, he said that in one of his emails, and I happened to remember that in that moment was the GOG spring sale. So I hopped on over to GOG, as we talked about last week. I got myself a copy of Street Fighter Alpha 2, and I also got a copy of Ultimate Body Blows, which is a one-on-one fighting game from Team 17, creators of Worms, etc., etc. And that was 89 cents. So I was up playing those last night. I had my old laptop going, because neither one of those are demanding games. I was just sitting up in my bed, chilling out, playing some Street Fighter Alpha 2. It was good, man. I played through the arcade mode as Charlie, because I wanted to experience the Charlie Nash character before they screwed him up the way they did in Street Fighter V and sort of made him some kind of undead monster. I got to play him when he's still designed to be a human being, which was cool. And then I tried to play through a second time as Akuma. Akuma was added as a special character right at the time I got Street Fighter V. So it was cool to play as... At that time, if you played online, just playing the random roulette, a lot of people were playing as Akuma because he was a brand new character. So I played him a little bit, and I got stuck at Sagat at the very end. Sagat is like maybe 3 characters from the end, or 2 characters before the final boss. And I could not beat him, man. So in order to play that game, I think seriously, I'll have to find some sort of move list. See, these days when you play a fighting game, it's standard, at least on the PC, to be able to pause the game and access a move list from in game. Alpha 2, you couldn't do that. It was before that became a standard feature in fighting games. In addition, it is on GOG, and GOG is known for having its extra downloadables, soundtracks, manuals, and whatnot. No manual for Alpha 2 in PDF to download. I have Professor Googlestein. It can't be too hard to drum me up a list of moves, but I haven't done it yet. So we'll see how that pans out. I did enjoy it. It got me, running my GOG Galaxy client for the first time in quite some time, actually. Running it not just to see how GOG Galaxy's doing, but actually to play games in the practical sense. I played Alpha 2. Body Blows had an issue though when I tried to run that. It's like the character was doing an infinite forward leg sweep over and over and over again, as if there was a button that was stuck. This was something that I used to see on gamepad games back in the serial port days. Before USB was the standard, if you bought a Gravis gamepad, it had like a 10-pin plug, very much akin to like a VGA cable that you would put in the back of your computer. Oftentimes, games would run and the D-pad would not be centered properly, so it would be constantly pressing to the right or to the lower right. And you would see, even when it did work, jitters were common, so it was hard to get like a straight left and right. This made certain precision games very difficult to play, platformers and whatnot, which sucked because, a lot of the early PC games that are really, really great were platformers, right? Come on, Commander Keen, we had, the original Duke Nukem, Secret Agent, Crystal Caves. Those are all platformers. So this was a problem. And I experienced it for the first time in a very long time playing Body Blows last night. And it's more of a problem because it occurs natively with gamepads. You see, just if it had no gamepad support at all, I would be happy to load up Joy to Key, map it to some keys on the keyboard, and off I'd go. So what I'm going to have to do is open the native files of the game and try and find a setup somewhere. Somewhere there's got to be a setup file, typically where you'd pick out what kind of sound card you had, all those types of things. Somewhere in there's got to be a way to disable joystick controls. Just disable native support altogether. Just leave it up to me. I'll use Joy to Key. I'll set it up myself. It'll be fine. And it may be that I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, I guess I have a tendency to do that when it comes to computer game problems. But this was the last game I played before I went to bed. I was sitting up, Street Fighter Alpha 2, everything was great. You know what, just before I go to bed, let's try this Body Blows game. I played it on MS-DOS in the abandonware scene more than 10 years ago. Let's see how it holds up. And the very last thing I did before going to sleep and waking up at the crack of dawn, before dawn even, to drive to work, was play Body Blows. And what kills me about that is, even though the controller didn't work very well, or it didn't work at all, it looked like a cool game. It had a lot of characters. The whole one-button fight system where you hold down the attack button and then use the arrow keys in conjunction with it, that seemed very doable. It seemed like something that I could make work. Darabka said that he played Body Blows quite a bit in recent days, and he said it was a very playable game that I would enjoy. I was glad to pick it up at a discounted price. I was looking forward to playing it. And the art style is pretty cool, Certainly not the best one-on-one fighting game in the world, but if you look at the other ones that were around in that time, you had to choose between pretty much that and Xenophage, which was part of the 3D Realms pack. Xenophage was a terrible game. Oh, man. So, it is what it is, as they say, and that's my adventures in GOG.com. I guess that's about all I got for now. Apart from that, I've been playing X3 Terran Conflict a little bit. I sat down and watched about half of a Let's Play a couple nights ago. There was a guy who was playing specifically X3 Terran Conflict, and he was playing it as a trader, a space trader, which interested me. I've always been interested in the trading aspect of that game. It's weird that they managed to fuse like solid space sim, flight combat with trading goods and services. That's always a mix that has intrigued me. It's like, okay, we got Wing Commander, we got a Wing Commander clone, all right, and we'll throw in some patrician just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. So that's been fun. One thing I've noticed about X3 is that the X series is a rather long series of games. I'm not sure how many there are, but I think it's upwards of 6. And this was the first game in the series, X3 was, where you no longer saw the cockpit of the ship you were in, which is something I very much miss. I played X2 quite a bit several years back, and it was a lot like Wing Commander. You could see the cockpit of the ship you were in, and if you changed ships, you could see a different, the layout, the dashboard was different. That was a detail that I appreciated thoroughly. I don't know, maybe there's a way to mod it in. Supposedly the X games are pretty moddable, but those games are so vast, and truth be told, I know so little about them. I don't like to comment on them too much, especially since I don't think any of the listeners out there, I don't think any of my friends are big X fans. So perhaps it falls on deaf ears. But that's what I played recently. Although, speaking of space sims, one of the games I picked up, and I mentioned this on the air last week as well, was, did I? I don't know if I guess I bought a couple of games after yesterday, or last week, or last whenever episode. I also picked up Wing Commander Privateer, which I've never owned, which is pretty cool. And then Wing Commander 1 and 2. Those I've had many times over, but now they've been added to my GOG collection. I don't understand why the Wing Commander games have never been added to Steam. So it's nice to have some of the GOG games that are unique to GOG. The Wing Commander series is one of them for sure. Speaking of GOG games, another series that caught my attention recently was the classic Forgotten Realms games. Those, I don't know how many there are, but there's several. They have all made it to GOG at some point after I stopped being a regular over at GOG. So it was nice to see them during the sale. However, for whatever reason, none of them were discounted. These are really old computer RPGs, all right? Computer RPGs from before 1995, or even from that area, 1995-ish or before, those really take a computer guy to play. You know, if you're a casual gamer, and I use those words lightly, if you're a casual gamer, good luck going back to play Wizardry 6 or 7. It's going to be a tough game for you to get into. And that's pretty much the kind of game we're looking at. Even more primitive than that, even. So it would have been nice to pick some of those up. Was not ready to pay $10 per package, but it was cool to see them there. I wishlisted them on the GOG.com, and perhaps I will make those future purchases. Alright guys, I'm trying to sign off, but I made the mistake of implementing a numerical code to unlock my phone rather than a pattern, and I'm driving at night in the pitch black, and there's no place to pull over. So here's the dilemma I'm stuck with. I have to stay on the air for at least another 5 minutes until I find a place to pull over. Otherwise, A, it's going to be awkward silence so that I don't crash, or B, I'm going to crash trying to turn my phone back on so I can deactivate the MP3 recorder. So what am I looking forward to playing? Actually, that's a really good question. And I'm not talking about new releases. I'm talking about, I'm driving to work right now. So during the workday, if you're a gamer and you're thinking about games, there's usually, man, when I get home, I can't wait to play, Madden 1998 on the Sega Genesis, Madden 98. That'd be great. That'd be great to play that New York Jets versus Washington Redskins grudge match that I play once every 5 years. There's that game that you have in the back of your mind. So the question is, what's that game for me? I'm thinking about it now, even saying the words. It occurs to me that a lot of times, the game that I'm thinking of during the day is not usually the game I end up playing when I get home. I recently opened up a new game of Out of the Park Baseball 17. And I created a little custom league and I kicked around with it. And it'd be nice to open that back up for a second time and play with that some more. That was a phase. Out of the Park Baseball was a game that I got into really hardcore for like a week and then put down and haven't picked back up again. A good game to have open while I'm doing other things and then just stop in at for a few minutes when I can and then just leave it open. It being turn-based, I can just let it go and it's not that big of a deal. But again, once I actually get home and the kids get to sleep and I have a few minutes to play games, I have a feeling that's not going to be the game I play. I'm going for something a little bit more action-y. I've had a hankering for Quake 3 lately. I have at my desk at work, I have a printout of the Quake 3 box art up on the wall of my cube. I see that a lot during the day, during the work week. But I haven't actually sat down with Quake 3 for a while. It'd be especially nice since cruising the Steam storefront, I came across a copy of, I can't even remember the game. something Arena, but it was clearly like, let's remake Quake 3 into an indie game. And I saw that, and I was not filled with the urge to purchase the game, but it did make me want to go back and play Quake 3. Alright guys, I'm at a red light. I have got this open, and I can now sign off safely. I'll see you guys back at Panzer Studios. Hope you're having a good one. And I did in fact make it back safe from that day of work. Now that bit was recorded, let's see, almost a week ago. I guess about a week ago. It's Friday night right now, and I'm finishing up TCR for the week. So let's go ahead and do the fail bag. It's relatively small this time around because the last episode was put up so recently. Let's see. Saga over on YouTube writes, "Don't feel anything over our CRU. It's not very good." He's referring, of course, to River City Ransom Underground, which is a little bit disappointing to hear, but I guess my question would be, if you were to stack up River City Ransom Underground next to River City Ransom DX for the Game Boy Advance, and also next to what was that game that was popular several years ago? Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If you stack it up next to those two games, how does it rank? Does it rank third, being the worst, or what? Clearly, it's not going to be as good as the original River City Ransom. I mean, especially you, Saga. You and I we would play the terrible ROM hacks back when we were kids, and we would we hack it ourselves in Nesticle, and nothing's going to stack up to that. Hexing the game with a text editor and all that stuff. That is an untouchable experience, crafted in the rock of time. But the question is, standing on its own, is it okay? It kind of looks, don't know if I'd drop $15 on it, but anyway. So there's that. I would also be interested to know if it has local multi. I would imagine it does, but that might be a good MagFest title, or a good midweek title. Light Studios writes, "I pledged $10, but the patrons only get $9. I don't get it, but I'll take a wild guess and say they now display the website's cut. Either way, you've made your goal. Now go buy a cookie." Let me read more. He also says, "I don't know if I ever thanked you for your contribution on It's Tail Time before that web pages collapse, but thank you. Now I'm an emailanger. Now you can answer me a question. I've discovered and acquired devices to record HDMI directly to a flash drive without connecting to a computer." Very nice. "Do you know of any such device that can record older systems like AV in a similar manner? My computer is away from my systems at my new place. P.S. If you have any interest in reproduction cartridges, I'd like to share a story with you, but the sum of it is, don't buy them on eBay. There's a significantly cheaper alternative." Okay, we got a few things to unpack here. First of all, Sendu, man, it's good to hear from you again, brother. I hope your life is going good. I have no idea about that sort of recording method. I didn't know you could record that way. I have a Hauppauge HD PVR, and my particular model is very aged. It does not have HDMI, so you could, in theory, record AV in the way you're describing. However, it would not be directly to a flash drive. I've never heard of doing it that way. That's something I'd be interested in looking into. I wanted to put a video capture card directly into my computer, the Panzer. I've got plenty of space on the motherboard to do it, but those types of cards are a couple $100, so I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, I'd be interested in Googling. I'd love to tell you I'll Google it for you and let you know what I find, but chances are I'm not going to remember. I'm glad I was a part of It's Tail Time, and it's nice to hear you say that, because I really felt like I left you holding the bag. I kind of ran out of time and had to fold up shop. I took a real good hard stab at trying to get a Let's Play channel going on Blip TV before Blip TV exiled all the gamers. But yeah, I was glad to be a part of that site. And I was especially glad to have made the introduction for the Neo Arcadia cast. I always when it comes to podcasting, I always consider that one of my great achievements, that I was able to make that. I believe that was Wiz Wars who made the song that played, and he personally gave the okay to use that track. I can't remember the voice actress's name, Tiffany something. I'm not an anime person, so I didn't really follow it, but that was good stuff. I'm sure I have a copy of the intro saved somewhere. I'll have to dig it out and play it again if you're okay with that. As far as reproduction cartridges go, let's talk about that a little bit. I've never bought one, but I've always been interested. I'm also familiar with the idea that if you buy a reproduction cartridge off of eBay, you're getting ripped off. I mean, more often than not. I know they sell them for good market prices at MagFest. They're not cheap, but you can get them for a fair market value. I see them regularly $30, $40, which I think is fair, because you got to buy the parts. And as much as people don't like to do it, you really got to pay the guy who's flashing it. He deserves a little bit for his time and whatnot. But the problem is they sell them on eBay for like, $60, $70, $80, whatever. No, that ain't worth it. I've always wanted a cartridge of Rockman Exile. That's an old favorite of mine. It's a terrible one to get because you really need to be able to exploit the save states, but it's just one I've always wanted. Also, there was a game called Ricky Quino, which is a brawler game, much like Super Smash Brothers. It uses those same River City Ransom type characters. Didn't come out in the States, but in the world of emulation, we did get a fan translated ROM hack that was very playable. That was a game I liked a lot. So yeah, those are a couple of games. Recently, I've been playing a game called Contra: Revenge of the Red Falcon. Excuse me. I played that. I think I first downloaded that like 2 years ago now, and I've been playing it off and on. It's resurfaced recently. Just an incredibly, ridiculously hard, needlessly hard Contra 1 ROM hack. So yeah, any stories you got, man? Let me hear them. It'd be great to hear your run-ins with reproduction carts. Now, you in particular, Sendu, once made a video of all the stuff that you bought off of eBay that didn't work, and I remember that being a very large video. Like, I was shocked at all the little adapters and gadgets and gizmos that you bought that didn't work out. Now, on the other hand, before I got my HD PVR, I was able to get a $10 digital capture card. It was very cheap in quality, but it worked, and I only knew about it because you told me. So, any of your online purchase stories, especially oddities, I'd be interested to hear. I think that covers everything in that, and that's it. That's really all I got. I made a couple of posts on my personal blog about the welfare of the page. I don't know if this was the case when I first started recording this episode, so if I haven't said it yet, I'll say it now. We are weekly now. TCR is weekly. So, yeah, that's a thing. Thank you very much to the people who are sponsoring it and making it, making this thing happen. Because I set a goal, and I was like, if I can make this happen, then it'll be weekly. And I got there pretty quick. So, a million thanks to you guys. So it's 8 p.m. on Friday. So I'm excited. I can actually play some games tonight. I don't know what I'll be getting into. But I'm kind of thinking opening up Anarchy Arcade and seeing what's there. I played a little bit of the... This is me trying to close the show, by the way, and I'm getting ready to go off on another tangent. I finally was able to sit down and play the original Command & Conquer a couple of days ago. And this was a game that I don't think it was... I think it may have been the only big box Command & Conquer game I had back in the day. I know my older brother had another one. He had Tiberium Sun, but this was the only PC big box game I had in the Command & Conquer series. And that was, of course, that was when I was a kid, so that's not around anymore. But then Sean Darabka, the Gaming Beast, sent me a German copy of the big box of that same game, which is one of my treasures. The fact that it's in German, yes, but it is clearly Command & Conquer to Tiberium Conflict, which is what it says on this version. And I finally, after picking it up on Origin, of all things, was able to sit down and play it. I played the GDI, not GDI, I played the Nod campaign. and I've been having a good time with it. I can tell you that the cinematic cutscenes look terrible on a widescreen monitor. This is one that I really feel like I need to plug in my old monitor and play, and be another one worth doing. But that has been a good time. I think I might dip into that again tonight. We'll see. I don't know. Either that or maybe Street Fighter V. I haven't got to use the new character as much as I would have liked. Street Fighter V, and then I also got, here I am going down the rabbit hole, I also got Dead or Alive 5. I really enjoyed that last time I played it, and that's been a couple of weeks now. But anyway, I'm going to go get some gaming done, and I'll tell you all about it next week. So this is the part of the show I like to set aside to say, just whatever you're doing right now, wherever you're at in your life, I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. So go out and make it a good day. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. And special thanks to the patrons, Retro Kaiser, Sandu of Light Studios, James, and Hemrock.